Ever throw a party and forget to tell the bouncer who's on the list? Suddenly, your best friends are stuck outside in the rain while total randos are somehow waltzing right in. That's basically what happens when you skip domain verification in email marketing, and your emails are the ones getting bounced. Today, I'm breaking down what domain verification is, why it matters, and how to check it off your list without crying into your domain settings. I'm Laryssa, and for nearly a decade with my agency, Joya, I've been helping women-focused, product-based e-commerce brands grow with more intention, creativity, and clarity. We ditch the marketing formulas that don't feel like you and build strategies that actually connect. All right, I'm getting into something that sounds intimidating, but I promise it really isn't once you peel back the jargon. Domain verification. If you've ever wondered why some emails soar straight into the inbox while others get tossed into the spam folder abyss, this is one of the biggest reasons. My goal with this episode is simple. By the end, you'll either feel confident enough to tackle domain verification yourself, or at the very least, you'll understand it well enough so that it's no longer one of those mysterious, unknown unknowns. Here's a painful truth for you. Your most gorgeous, persuasive, perfectly timed holiday campaign is pretty much worthless if no one ever sees it. You could have the witty subject line, the stunning creative, the irresistible offer, but if Gmail or Outlook doesn't trust that your emails are legit, they're never even going to give you a chance. They're either going to dump your message in spam jail or block it altogether. And the fix is to prove that you're a trustworthy sender. Domain verification does this. It's like you're showing up to the email world's velvet rope club and saying, hey, here's my ID, I belong here. But without that, without the verification, you're just some random stranger yelling through the window. And before we go any further here, I have to say this loud and clear. If you're still sending marketing emails from @gmail.com or like @yahoo.com address, stop. Most email platforms today won't even let you do that anymore, but I've seen a few that still do allow it, and it looks unprofessional. It screams potential spammer to inbox providers, and it's going to kill your deliverability right off the bat. So your sending email should always be connected to a domain that you own, like hello@yourbrand.com, because that's what tells inboxes this is a real, legitimate business. And without that to start, even perfect domain verification isn't going to save you. What is domain verification actually in human terms? I'm going to translate this jargon into something normal. Basically, when you verify your sending domain, it tells all your subscribers' inboxes three things. They are these fancy acronyms. We have SPF. This is something you'll see when you do your domain verification. That stands for Sender Policy Framework. It's like your guest list, if I'm putting it in party terms. It says, these are the email platforms that I have approved to send on my behalf. So if you're using Klaviyo, Mailchimp, any other email service provider, and they're not listed in that SPF, Gmail might assume that it's an imposter sending on your behalf. So it's really important, since you're not sending directly, you're sending through, say, Klaviyo, say, Mailchimp, etc. You need this verification to prove that it's actually you. The other part of domain verification is called DKIM or DKIM. It stands for Domain Keys Identified Mail. Yeah, I don't know, some tech term. Basically, it is your signature on an envelope. It's proving to your subscribers' inboxes that the email you're sending is really coming from you and wasn't tampered with somehow along the way. So without that DKIM step, it's like you're mailing a birthday card, but there's no return address. So again, it's just proving that you're a legitimate sender and not a spammer. And then there's DMARC. You may have heard this before. Domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance. These are your house rules. So with the DMARC associated with your sending address, you're telling inboxes what to do if something fails the first two things, SPF or DKIM. So either let it slide, send it to spam, or reject it entirely. Together, these three records work like a handshake between your domain at yourbrand.com and every single inbox that's receiving an email from you. And once those inboxes trust you as a sender, they're far more likely to make sure your messages get delivered front and center and not in spam. Now, before I get into how to verify your domain without panicking, I want to take a really quick break to tell you about Joya, my agency. We partner with women-focused e-commerce brands to turn their email and SMS channels into true growth engines. Our clients typically see a 30 to 40% lift in revenue within the first 90 days. Visit joya.com to see what we can do for you. All right, how to verify your domain without panicking. Because I'm sure if you're not used to any of this, all these acronyms I'm throwing out, your brain is probably already shutting down and thinking, I can't do this. It's not as hard as it sounds. There's a step-by-step punch list you can follow. Now, this again is assuming you're using an email marketing provider like Klaviyo, like a Mailchimp, like an Omnisend. No matter which one you use, you're gonna have to go through this process. You're gonna log into two places. The first place is your domain registrar. That is where you bought your domain in the first place and where the settings for it would exist. So GoDaddy, Google Domains, Cloudflare. Those are just examples of where you may have purchased your domain. You're also going to log into that email marketing provider like the Klaviyo, the Mailchimp, whichever platform you're using, where you will be cross-referencing the settings that you'll need to update in your domain. So at that point, with the two logins happening simultaneously, you'll start the authenticate domain setup. Every single email platform like the Klaviyo, like the Mailchimp have a slightly different setup, but they'll all generate the SPF, the DKIM, and the DMARC records for you. Many times when you first sign up for an email marketing platform, because this verification step is so important, it will just be part of that onboarding process, and they'll walk you through the steps that you'll need to do this verification. But also, if you've been on your email marketing platform for a while and you're not sure if you ever did the verification, all you'll want to do to get those instructions is search your email marketing provider's name, like Klaviyo, for example, on Google, plus domain verification steps. And every single email platform has a tutorial for this that's usually super easy to follow. Now, what it looks like is long strings of text, but don't worry, you're gonna just be copying and pasting them into the settings of your domain. They're called records in the language of this world, and you're just copying and pasting each one of these records over from your email platform to your domain settings so that you can click save and then have everything verify. All of this feels a lot scarier than it is, I would say. If you know how to copy and paste like a recipe or a funny meme into a text message to your friend, then you can definitely do this. It's just about following instructions. Then when everything is verified and you've saved all the new settings, you can test it. Of course, your email marketing platform will usually give you like a check mark or a go ahead that says all has been verified. But there is a trick to test this as well. You'll send an email from your platform, it could be like a test email, to a Gmail inbox. So say you have Google Workspace or you have a Gmail account, send yourself a test. And then there are 3 dots in the top right corner of the email where it gives you the option to show original. And that opens a screen where it says things like SPF, DKIM, and DMARC at the top. And if all 3 of those things say pass, then you're golden. It means that all your settings are correct and you are passing in the eyes of Google. And that means that you are an authenticated sender and a trusted sender. If not, if one of those ends up being a fail, which hopefully it doesn't, if you followed all the instructions and steps from your email provider, you may just want to go through it one more time or double check all your copying and pasting to make sure there isn't any typos or even one extra character or an extra space can ruin everything. Ask me how I know that. There's also a free service called Mail Tester. If you Google the word mail tester, you'll find it. And you can send a test of your email campaigns to Mail Tester, and it will tell you what is failing, what is not authenticated, and if any aspects of your email campaign appear to be spammy or have any sort of like warning associated with them. So once you actually do the technical setup of verifying your domain, there is a human side to pay attention to after the technical part is done to make sure that inboxes still see you as a trusted sender. Because even if your domain records are perfect, inboxes will still watch for other clues about how you behave. And you want to stay in good graces to avoid ending up in spam. So warm up your sends, especially if you are listening or watching and you are a newer email marketer or you haven't emailed your list in a while, let's say in a few months. You don't want to blast your whole list right away because that does come across as a spam signal if you've taken a break from email marketing. That's why it's so important to be consistent with email marketing because consistency actually equals trust in the eyes of inbox providers like Gmail, for example. So ramp up gradually if it's been a bit of time since you've emailed or if you're starting fresh. You also want to make sure that your list is clean. So you want to regularly filter out disengaged subscribers, people who no longer engage with your email campaigns. If people are not engaging with your emails, and let's say they have Gmail is going to start to notice that behavior. And to Gmail, they don't think, oh, this person receiving the emails is just busy or they get a lot of emails. No, they're thinking that you are actually perhaps an untrustworthy sender or a spam sender because the clue is, oh, okay, these people aren't engaging. You must not be sending anything of value. So that's why you don't want unengaged subscribers on your list. They're like expired milk. Just think of them as dragging things down. You don't want them there. Being consistent, I mentioned that just a couple minutes before, but sudden spikes in sending or long silences, again, can make inboxes suspicious. Also, the more consistent you are in sending, the more data and feedback you are getting back about your email marketing. It helps you spot problems early. It helps you weed out those disengaged subscribers. And it helps you see patterns over time with the data that could potentially give you clues that maybe something's wrong and maybe you are ending up in spam and you need to find ways to fix that. Speaking of spotting problems early, this is why it's so important to pay attention to your data. I have seen it. I have seen brands kind of wait for things to be bad for a long time. Like for months, they've noticed their open rates dramatically declining and not doing anything about it. And that's a sign like, maybe I have a deliverability issue. If you capture that early, if you notice it early and you're not waiting for all of a sudden, oops, my open rate is 5%, that's a disaster, then you can fix these things and there's a better chance you can turn it around. So look out for these signs. Your open rates are dipping below 20% and consistently going in a downward trend. 20% really starts to be a danger zone for open rates and is a sign you might have a deliverability issue. If you're subscribed to your own email campaigns or you have friends or team members who are, make sure they give you a heads up if they notice that your emails are landing in spam. That is definitely a sign that it's probably happening to other people. Also, in your email marketing data, look at your bounce rates. Look at your spam complaint rates. If those spike, that is also potentially a sign that you have a deliverability issue. So again, I talked about a lot of kind of technical things in this episode. I hate acronyms because I know that they can freak people out. But let me recap this whole thing in one sentence. SPF is like the guest list. DKIM is the signature, and DMARC is like the bouncer and the instructions they have. And together, having these things associated with the email address that you send your campaigns from helps you prove that you're legitimate and makes a huge difference between landing in the inbox and landing in a spam folder, which is pretty much certain death for email marketing if you end up in spam. Domain verification might feel techy, like I said, but it's really one of the highest impact, lowest effort things you can do to boost deliverability. Seriously, a few tweaks to your domain today could mean thousands more people actually see your next campaign. And if this episode helped you finally understand what all of those scary acronyms mean, share it with a friend who's still convinced that SPF is just sunscreen. Until next time, happy sending, and here's to more of your emails actually making it where they belong in the inbox. If you want to know more about domain verification and get some accompanying resources, you'll want to join me live at my next live YouTube masterclass on Friday, November 14th at 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and check out my other videos for even more tips.